my wife convinced me to take the day off from the workshop. There's too many interruptions, and just turn the phone off, go to a cafe and draw something. So you've got that time to just go, I wonder what this would look like. All the initial pieces that I drew, not one of them has made it to where we're at now, but they had to be flushed out of the system to get to the next level. Yeah, to go, all right, I've got to play with this. I think there's something here. And then you spend 3 hours mucking around and go, nah, start again and go in a different direction.
Welcome to Behind the Design, a podcast where we unfold the details behind the designs we know and love and explore how each project comes to life. I am Camilla Ingall, owner of Unfolded, an interior design and styling studio. In this podcast series, we dive into the details with our industry experts, covering topics such as the creative process, latest design trends, and how we, as an industry, work together to meet the brief and overcome challenges. Let the conversation begin. Furniture is meant to be lived with. It's not meant to sit under lights in a gallery untouched. For Tim Noone, the true success of a piece isn't how it photographs, it's how it contributes to a space and the life unfolding inside it. Welcome back to Behind the Design, the podcast where we go beyond the finished image to explore the people, processes, and personal journeys behind creative work. I'm your host, Camilla Ingall, interior designer and founder of Unfolded, and today I'm joined by Tim Noone, furniture maker and founder of Tim Noone Furniture. Tim's work is quietly confident, beautifully resolved, and deeply considered. He spent years refining his craft, building a business that prioritizes quality over noise and carving out a thoughtful position within an industry that often celebrates the highlight reel over the reality. What I really admire about Tim is his restraint, both creatively and professionally. He's never been interested in being the hero piece in a room. Instead, his furniture is designed to lift a space, to belong, and to work harmoniously alongside architecture and interiors. Tim's story is a perfect example of what the podcast is about, from trade training and shared workshops to consciously reshaping his business model. This is a conversation about craft, patience, and designing a career that actually sustains you. So Tim, welcome to Behind the Design.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
And so we caught up recently discussing all things furniture design, joinery, and when we first went into your journey and where you started, it wasn't straight line into furniture design, was it? You went a little bit into kitchen, joinery. Tell us a little bit about that.
I guess, yeah, ultimately, because it was so long ago, there was no social media. Not like now where you can just get on there and look for a joinery company or a furniture place, look at what they do and say, yes, I would like to do that. It was the yellow pages and you just looked up a kitchen company or you tried to talk to someone who, talk to a builder, do you know a kitchen guy? So yeah, furniture jobs were hard to find. So I just started off in kitchens and joinery to just get in the industry. Once I finished the trade course for kitchens and joinery, I did the furniture making course, trade course. So yeah, just to take little steps to get to where I wanted to be eventually.
And at that point, were you quite passionate about the idea of furniture design or?
Yeah. I mean, it evolved in that initially, if you'd asked me years ago, do you want to have your own business? It probably would have been no. But eventually you realize that the only way I'm going to do what I actually want to do is to do it myself. Because wherever you work, you might be able to say, could you try and get this kind of work? But they can't always just magically produce the work you want to do. Like it doesn't make business sense for them to try and get one guy the work that he wants. So in the end, I just thought, no, the only way I'm going to get to do this is just to start my own thing. And I thought better to regret having a crack and it failing than to 30 years time look back and go, I wonder what would have happened if I'd tried that then.
And so where you're at now, how big's your team? Who have you got assisting? How does that?
So currently, I've only got one apprentice. I downsized from a couple of years ago. We're in 3 workshops. I'm now only in 2, because part of the reason was trying to change directions.
And when you say change directions, from to where?
We were doing, and still are doing, really nice bespoke furniture. I found that I hit a cap on how much we could earn, and I could not work out how to make us earn more. And I've got 5 kids, and number 3's at school this year, and everything's getting more expensive, and I've got more kids going to school. And so I needed to find a way. I just thought, we're going to need a way to get extra money in a purely practical sense. As I started to develop the collection, the opportunity to downsize came when I had more staff. As they left, I didn't rehire. I just eventually, reduced. But it's, given us an opportunity again to try something out. We don't know how it's going to go, but if we don't do it, by we, my wife and I, if we don't do it, we just sort of thought, this is our chance now to do it.
And this is your new in-house collection?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the people we would like to continue working with already know who I am. So it's just to say this is its own item, its own thing to what we normally do. And the hope is that doing that, we can, not only do we get to, bespoke furniture is expensive, and the jump from high-end retail to bespoke is enormous. And so we wanted to try and land somewhere in between, where we could still produce a good product at, a bespoke level, where there's no corners cut and that sort of thing, and keep the price down purely by batch production, or just the repeatability, knowing what you're making. Yeah. Or even just the known quantity of, you just know exactly every step, rather than hitting certain points and thinking, how the hell am I going to do this next bit?
It is interesting listening to you speak, for a furniture maker, furniture designer, there's so much thought that goes into, not only what you're doing day to day, what you're offering, what you're delivering, but the whole process of building the business.
Yeah.
Saying yes to that, saying no to that, reducing, scaling.
Yes. Yeah. They're all things that, in many ways, I think if you knew what it was going to take when you set out, you may not do it. But it becomes a necessity. They're problems, but they're good problems. But yeah, I mean, I never learned more in business than when we almost lost everything. It was a few years ago now, but it was one of the best things in hindsight, because it forced us to look at everything differently and think about, all right, if this does fall, what are we going to do differently? Or if we're going to rebuild this, how are we going to do it? What will we do differently? Let's do that. Rather than wait for it to fall, let's just do that now. And yeah, that's sort of helped us out a lot side of it.
Can I ask what happened?
Yeah, we had a lot of work tied up with one job, which is, everyone would tell you, please avoid that. But sometimes you can't. For instance, if that's the only job on offer, you're going to take it because you need the work. And it was sort of just post-COVID, and there was an enormous delay on a building site, and I had, 3 months or so worth of work lined up for that one particular job. I think I had 4 staff at the time. And
Was the furniture made at this point?
so this was part of the deal with this house, was to do all the furniture. We had to do the entire house fit out. And it was just this one particular stage we're at, where all the work for the next 3 months was that part. And the build got delayed because of material delays for the builders. They couldn't finish their section, so we couldn't get measurements and do our thing. And I had 3 months worth of work that I couldn't do. So I had no money coming in to pay anyone. And we had to just go, what are we going to do to get out of this? And yeah, going through that was, in some ways it was hell, but in some ways it was the best thing that ever happened, because you reprioritize, and yeah, it changed the way we looked at certain things. And I'd been warned not to get all your work from one person, but at that time I didn't have much choice. I then spent the next 2 or 3 years doing what I could to get work from more different places. And that was probably, in the end, one of the things, a catalyst for going, all right, we've talked about a collection for a while. Let's give it a crack now, because you're at the mercy of what comes through the door. If I had staff who I needed to keep employed, and so if I didn't have bespoke furniture work for them and joinery work came along, which I didn't particularly want, I had to take it on, and I hated it. Not because it's just not where I want to be. Not that joinery is the worst thing in the world. It's just not where I want to be. And then, the builder court says, jump, you got to jump. And I'm not running the business anymore. It's running me. And so that's where we thought a collection would give us something to drive and help us direct something. Certainly not immediately, but over time, that's the hope.
And so how much, if you were to give a percentage or a ratio, in your experience, has been commissioned pieces versus pieces where you're able to execute your craft and your artistry?
So I guess there's a different way to put it, might be pretty much everything in the last 10 years has been commissioned. But as relationships with designers develop, initially, so with some, they would go, this is what we want. After a little while of working with them, me suggesting things, and then them going with it, eventually, it might have been a couple of years later, it would be, this is what we want. As long as it looks like this, you can dress it up however you like. We
Or
want it
add
to look like
detail
this.
or-
Add details. If you want to add a little round on this bit, that's up to you. We're comfortable that it's whatever you do is going to look good. On a personal note, I've always thought it's better to leave people asking for more rather than do too much. And then it's like, well, sorry. You can always say, well, it would have been nice if I did this, but it's hard. Doesn't really work the other way to go, I wish I didn't do that. And so anything I suggest is never crazy. It's never out there. And it's with the intention that I'm trying to help lift their design rather than trying to redesign.
If we go back to, early on, you and I had that chat recently around platforms like Handcrafted and how that played such a big role with you connecting with clients, and because it was such early days for you before Handcrafted grew. Is it still around?
Yeah.
It is, yes.
Yeah, that was providential. So I was part of a shared workspace, and sort of on a Friday afternoon that I wasn't there, this guy from Handcrafted came in and dropped his card off to say, I'm starting this thing, would anyone be interested? And none of them were, but on the Monday when I came in, they went, here, you might be interested. So I just chatted to the guy, Fred Kimmel is his name. He was just looking for people to get this website going, get profiles on there. I think when I got on there, I think I was about the 6th or 7th guy in the country. And from memory, a lot of the guys who were already on there were just sort of working in their sheds. So I was the most set up to take advantage of anything that came through.
Okay. Where were you at this point? Did you have the warehouse?
No, I was sharing with a kitchen guy joinery guy, and I would work with him 4 days a week. L&J Designs. I would work with him 4 days a week, and then 1 day a week I rented a space in his workshop to have a workbench and things, and that's where I started.
And so, yeah, we spoke about, the difference between high-end retail, full bespoke, and the accessibility of both of those. And you did mention that you were quite comfortable in that middle ground sort of space, considering that you could go either way. Where are you at with that now, and how does that sort of determine where you're headed?
So part of the point with the collection is that we can hit that space in that if someone was to a high-end retail dining table might be 10,000. For me to do the same dining table, it might be 17 to 20, which is a massive jump. But there's a lot of people who, even through designers, will say they love this table, but they want something nicer, or they love that style, but they just want a few changes. But then the price is so big that job goes wanting, and they end up with the retail one. Again, that's not a bad decision. It's just the nature of things sometimes. On top of that as well, if I price a TV unit at $25,000, that's what it's worth to me. And the client may well love the design and may well think that's amazing, but they might also go, well, I don't really want to spend that much on a TV unit. I might spend that much on a sideboard, but I've got a sideboard. So, and it's not about whether or not they've got the money. It's more, do they see it, what's it worth to them? And so can I present something to them that will make them go, oh, what the hell? Yes. Here's my money. Yeah. And I guess that's part of it as well. Just knowing that, yeah, in some ways it's not about the money. It's about the fact that I can't convince you to part with it for something you don't love. And so, yeah, we're trying to produce something that people will love.
Yeah, and it is interesting because you and I covered how the interior designer role with someone like a furniture designer or joiner, and how that is quite a collaborative process. Because then we went into how we work together. So I would specify a custom piece. And what I loved is how you made a point quite early on to say, your pieces don't exist in isolation. You want them to be not so much the hero image or the hero item. You want it to be that, that really complements the space and it works in conjunction with and in and around.
I have been surprised over the years producing tables and things for designers. And as some of the former employees know, we'll rate my way of rating something, whether I like it or not, is as an object, I like it. In that space, I don't. Or in that space, love it, amazing. But as an object on its own, no, not interested. And so over the years, there have been a number of jobs where, nothing was ugly or anything like that, but seeing it in the workshop, again, the wrong context, but seeing it in the workshop and just thinking, how is this going to look? Is it actually going to do in the space what the designer is intending? And I've been amazed. It's just, I really, really admire the vision to be able to, mood board something and then go out on a limb for some of them and go, let's get a guy to make something we can't find anywhere, and have the confidence to say, yes, you should spend your money on this because it's going to work. And then it does. That's amazing. That's one of the parts I love with working with interior designers. Knowing that it's, for instance, in my own house, we just moved house, and you pick up all your furniture that you've set up in a way that works in the house, and you think, great, you move to a new house and you go, that can't go there. That doesn't work. And on a very small scale, that's sort of the same thing. But, and in many ways, I'm just as interested in making sure that it suits the space.
This episode of Behind the Design is brought to you by my interior design studio, Unfolded. We collaborate closely with makers, joiners, and craftspeople to create spaces that feel cohesive, considered, and deeply lived in. You can explore more of our work at unfolded.com.au. There's quite a humility in the way that you approach design. And I just wondered, have you always had that about you where your focus is to, as we've said, have it that your pieces complement a space? And have you sort of learnt that that's a good way to be, or is that quite instinctive for you?
Possibly because when I started, it was in kitchens and joinery, where you get the design and that's the design. Where I was working, we didn't really get involved in, what if we do this? What if we do that? It was just, there's the kitchen, here you go. And so being the background, I was always aware that it's not my project. Like, I'm just one of a number of people who could be doing this. It's not my project. It's their little baby. They've spent hours poring over it. It's not my job to come along and ruin it. They've come to me to make the thing that they've already settled on. And so, yeah, I think that's probably part of the, I guess, that point of view, in that, yeah, just knowing it's never, most of the time, it's not my baby.
And so, in saying all of this, and you're now moving from Tim Noone Furniture to the collection and where that could head, what does success look like for you now?
But I would say, at the end of the day, I would like to do what I love to do. I would also like to be able to turn up at 7:30 and leave at 4. And I'd love to get to the point where, being able to do what I love, we can go on regular family holidays. I'd love to get to the point where I can just eventually drop my kids at school, go to work, pick them up from school. In that, success is, to me, that life doesn't revolve around the business, that the business just facilitates myself and my family enjoying our lives. To make it more specific, furniture making success, I don't have a what's next in terms of what would I like to make, or I've seen this overseas, I'd love to have a crack at that. I think I'm past that part of the career, and it's more now, the challenge of running a business. Mostly because we've made a lot of challenging things, and done them well. And so there's only so many times you can do that before you think, all right, what's next? And so, next will be, if we can make a good solid go of the collection, which we'd like to add to. And so,
And build.
yes, and it will be a design challenge, which I haven't done a load of. I've added details, but designing something from scratch. And the first time I did it was so strange for me. My wife convinced me to take the day off from the workshop. There's too many interruptions, and just turn the phone off, go to a cafe and draw something. So you've got that time to just go, I wonder what this would look like, or that sort of thing, which has been good. All the initial pieces that I drew, not one of them has made it to where we're at now. But in many, they had to be flushed out of the system to get to the next level. Yeah, to go, all right, I've got to play with this. I think there's something here. And then you spend 3 hours mucking around and go, nah, start again. Save it by all means, but start again and go in a different direction.
Surely that's like an artist on canvas, like
Yeah.
So much exploration, experimentation.
Yeah, I guess so. Um, it's strange because it's, you draw on 3D programs and things, and I like to remind myself sometimes that you have that problem of you can sketch something, but can you reproduce that on a 3D modeling program or a 3D drawing program? Instead of sketching, if you go straight to a 3D modeling program, you design generally with perfect arches and perfect circles. And because it's a tool, you just click circle. And so that then affects what you produce. So I guess you're trying to be conscious of, is this my design, or is this looking this way because the program wouldn't let me do something a bit more organic, or I don't know, I'm not good enough to be able to produce this shape on the software.
Like, it raises a good point around creation and creativity from the human mind versus trying to integrate that and execute it out of a
Yes.
program.
Yeah. And then, the challenge after that is, all right, love the shape, love everything. Can I produce that in timber? Is it going to cause any issues? Are there going to be problems with movement? Yeah. Is there, what sort of thicknesses do things need to be? What's the best way to actually produce that? All those problems come after that it's been designed. And so, the finished product, all of that's been worked out, but there's been hours and hours last year was in many ways very good because I didn't have a lot of work. I had the privilege of spending more time designing something because at one point we sort of thought, well, I don't know where the work's gone, but when are we ever going to get a better chance to spend the time developing something?
Yeah.
And so we did. There's a number of ideas, and I don't yet know if they're going to progress or if they're just going to be scrapped. There's been a few interior designers who've been very generous with their time. One in particular, I showed her the first 3 things I'd drawn up, and in the best possible way, she shut one down completely. The first time I ever opened myself to that sort of criticism, I got slammed, and it took a little while to recover and go and realize, no, hang on, that wasn't a personal attack. It felt really personal. That was not a personal attack. And everything that I was told was 100% correct, but it just tore me up for a little while. Yeah, but it was brilliant. It was really good. And I'm much better now. I mean, it's a long time ago when that happened, but I'm much better now at going, what do you think? And yeah, being fine. If they hate it, no worries. But yeah, the first time was brutal.
So, what excites you most about the next chapter, both personally and professionally?
Personally, the hope would be that once we can get this working, it provides more freedom, more time to spend with the family. And professionally, there's a lot of challenges, good challenges coming in. I've spoken to a number of people. There's a number of pieces that I know need to be designed because there's holes in the market for, everyone. We did a survey years ago, and every single person in the survey, all interior designers. So basically, long story short, what's missing? And they said this, every single one. So I know what that is. But since then, it was about 3 years ago. Since then, I still haven't been able to come up with something I'm happy with. So there's this design challenge of can you produce something that people will like? For all I know, what we've produced so far, some people will like, most people won't. But, again, we'll find out.
Well, we like to wrap up with a bit of a fun one, which is 3 questions in under 3 minutes. I didn't prepare you for these, by the way. Question 1. The one thing clients say that instantly raises your blood pressure.
it would just be a typical, yeah, it would just be a typical, it's too late. You've got to a certain stage, and then the question is it too late to make it longer? Yeah, like I can't put the material back on the saw and cut it longer. But it's not a blood boiling moment because
There's nothing you can do.
no, there's nothing I can do, and they're asking because they can ask.
Question 2. What part of your job do people think is glamorous but absolutely isn't?
Sanding. Oh no one thinks sanding is glamorous. That we do a lot of. We've done over the last number of years a lot of scallop sort of texturing on things in our own collection as well as on bespoke pieces, and it's actually really hard to do it for long periods. So if the collection takes off, I'm not sure how that's going to go, but it's there's no quick way to do it. On panels that are really wide, it's actually quite hard on your body because you have to sort of contort yourself and reach out. And so it's an amazing decorative detail, but it can actually be really hard work and be exhausted at the end of the day. And it looks fun. And the first few times I did it, it was really fun. How cool is this? And then you start to get sore and need to take breaks every half an hour and just go for a walk and stretch your neck just things like that. No, and it's very hard to explain to someone it's going to take literally an entire day to do this, and to explain that literally the entire day I will just be doing this one sort of operation. So it's just podcast on and off you go.
Okay, so last question, number 3. One small habit that quietly makes you better at what you do.
So what is one piece of advice I was given or have been given that has helped? And that was, when you work for yourself, often your biggest battles are with yourself. And in my context, it will be the texturing, for instance, that it's going to be a hard slog. And somehow, and you can sit there for half an hour finding, maybe there's an email to look at. I'm not ready to start yet. Maybe, and before you know it, 2 hours is gone and you've swept the workshop because you're just procrastinating. But really, you should have just been head down, bum up doing it. And so often I find something goes wrong, you make a mistake, you cut something too short, or and sometimes it's a very expensive mistake. Early on, I would kick myself, spend 2 hours just moping about what an idiot I'd been and how the hell did I do that, and this is going to take so long to fix. And then I look back at the end of the day and go, well, I've just spent 2 hours achieving absolutely nothing.
Thinking about it.
Yeah. And so what I then started to do was find something else related to the same job, if possible, that you can make progress on without thinking. And I found there's no feeling like progress, like actually moving something forward. There's no feeling like it. And so whatever it is, if you've got to fix something, just put it to the side, go and find something to sand or find something to cut on the saw, do that for 2 hours, and you do feel better because you've actually got somewhere. I haven't spent 2 hours moping and whinging and thinking, how am I going to fix this? You can't help it. In those 2 hours, you'll be thinking about how am I going to fix that? But you've made progress. And I think certainly in an industry that's very practical, there's no feeling like it. That just for motivation to actually get you back on top is to actually get progress. And even though you've taken a backward step, to move forward while you're trying to deal with it it's really good for you then approach it with a fresh perspective. You think a bit clearer because
it's good for you mentally.
It's all out of your system. Yeah, basically.
Well,
Yeah.
Thank you for being a part of Behind the
No worries.
Design. It's great
Been
to
a
have you
pleasure.
on. There are so many thoughtful takeaways from this conversation with Tim. That furniture should serve the space, not dominate it. that repetition can be a gift, not a limitation, and that success isn't always about scaling up. Sometimes it's about refining down. For those listening, you can explore Tim's work online and see how his pieces quietly elevate the spaces they're part of. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow Behind the Design, leave a review, and share it with someone who values craftsmanship and intention. I'm Camilla Ingall, and this has been Behind the Design. Until next time.